Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
I walked through the door holding a dozen red roses like an idiot, ready to celebrate the woman who was about to destroy me. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. Our contemporary home, all glass and steel, cold surfaces that Sabrina had insisted on, felt colder than usual. I could hear her voice before I saw her, that clipped, professional tone she used when she wanted to sound important. "Eli, you're home early," she said, not looking up from her phone. She sat at the kitchen island, still in her scrubs, hair pulled back in that severe bun she wore at the hospital. Dr. Sabrina Monroe now. She'd passed her boards 3 weeks ago. "Thought we'd celebrate," I said, holding up the roses. "Your graduation ceremony is tomorrow. Figured we could sit down, Elliot." The way she said my full name made my stomach drop. Nobody called me Elliot except my mother when I was in trouble. I set the roses on the counter. They looked ridiculous now, cheap and desperate. "What's going on, Sabrina?" She slid a manila envelope across the granite. "I've been thinking about this for a while. We're in different places now. Different worlds, really." I opened the envelope. Divorce papers, already filled out, already signed by her. All I needed to do was add my signature, and my 8-year marriage would be over. "You're serious?" "Oh, completely." She finally looked at me, and her eyes were cold. "I'm starting my residency next month. I need to focus on my career. You've been supportive, I guess. But Eli, be honest. What do you bring to the table now? You fix medical equipment. I'm going to be saving lives." "I put you through medical school," I said quietly. "Worked double shifts so you wouldn't have to worry about money. Gave up my boxing career." "Your boxing career?" She laughed, actually laughed. "You were an amateur who got punched in the face for $200 a fight. That's not a career, that's a hobby with brain damage." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her in months. I caught a glimpse of the name. Gavin. "Who's Gavin?" "My attending physician. He's been mentoring me." She didn't even have the decency to look guilty. "He says I have real potential, that I shouldn't let anything hold me back." "Anything? You mean me? If the shoe fits." She stood up, smoothing her scrubs. "I'm staying at Maya's tonight. I'll be back tomorrow to pack more things. Sign the papers, Eli. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "Does Gavin know you're married?" She paused at the doorway. "Gavin's married too. We're both adults making adult decisions. You wouldn't understand. You've never had ambition." After she left, I sat there for a long time, staring at those divorce papers. The roses were already wilting, petals dropping onto the counter like little red tears. My phone buzzed with notifications. Sabrina's social media lighting up with congratulations from her hospital friends. I scrolled through the comments. Lots of heart emojis from someone named Maya. Several from Dr. Gavin Rusk himself. I looked him up. 40 years old, silver fox type, married to someone named Patricia. His profile picture showed him at some medical conference, all teeth and confidence. The kind of guy who'd never fixed anything with his hands in his life. Sabrina had left her laptop. She'd gotten a new one for graduation, something sleek and expensive that I'd paid for. This old one sat on her desk in the spare room, probably forgotten. I opened it. She'd never been good with passwords, still used our wedding date for everything. Her email was a goldmine. Months of messages between her and Gavin. Started professional, got personal, then got explicit. But there was something else too. Messages about her patient reports, about Gavin smoothing things over with the board, about adjusting some of her clinical hours to meet requirements she'd apparently fallen short on. I copied everything to a flash drive. Then I copied it to a second one. Then I uploaded it all to a cloud storage account she didn't know about. When I finally went to bed that night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling and thought about what Sabrina had said. Dead weight. Holding her back. No ambition. She was wrong about that last part. I had plenty of ambition now. Plenty of ambition now. I signed the divorce papers the next morning and left them on the counter. Then I packed a bag, took half the money from our joint account, my half, the half I'd earned, and walked out of that cold glass house for the last time. Sabrina texted me that afternoon. "Saw you signed. Good. Knew you'd see reason. BTW, taking the house. You can have the Honda." Ndavalo. I didn't respond. I was already at Rico's gym across town. The same place I'd trained before medical school had consumed our lives. Rico took one look at me and nodded. "She finally did it, huh? How'd you know?" Brother, I've been watching you die for 4 years. Least now you can start living again. He tossed me some wraps. Get on the bag, work it out. I hit that heavy bag until my knuckles bled through the wraps. Every punch was Sabrina's face. Every combination was Gavin's smug smile. Rico didn't stop me. He just watched, arms crossed, until I finally collapsed against the bag, gasping. Feel better? No. Good, you shouldn't. But now you're angry. Angry's useful. Angry gets things done. He lit a cigarette, even though smoking in the gym was technically illegal. What are you gonna do? I don't know yet. Well, figure it out. But whatever it is, make it count. Don't do anything stupid. Do something smart. I thought about those emails, those files, all that evidence of Sabrina's shortcuts and Gavin's manipulation. I thought about how they'd laughed at me, how they'd called me deadweight. Rico, you still know Devin? The guy who works maintenance at City General? Yeah, why? Think he'd be willing to do me a favor? Rico grinned around his cigarette. Brother, for you. Devin owes you big time. You got him that job when nobody else would hire an ex-con. He'd walk through fire for you. I don't need fire. I just need information. 2 months passed. I moved into a studio apartment above Rico's gym, the kind of place Sabrina would have called depressing and beneath us. It had a hot plate, a mattress on the floor, and a window that looked out over the street. It was perfect. I worked odd jobs during the day, fixing equipment, doing electrical work, whatever paid cash. At night, I trained. I got back into fighting shape, not because I wanted to box again, but because I wanted to be ready. For what? I wasn't entirely sure yet. But I knew I needed to be sharp, strong, and focused. Devin became my eyes and ears at City General Hospital. He was a janitor, which meant he was invisible. People said anything around him, did anything, like he wasn't even there. He'd text me updates throughout his shifts. Dr. Monroe and Dr. Rusk eating lunch in the doctor's lounge again. Very cozy. Heard some nurses talking. They call you Sabrina's ex-deadweight. She's been telling everyone you were holding her back. Rusk's wife showed up today looking for him. He hid in an exam room until she left. Nurses thought it was hilarious. The gossip was valuable, but what I really needed was timing. I needed to know Sabrina's schedule, her routines, her vulnerabilities. Devin provided all of it. Meanwhile, Sabrina's social media presence exploded. She posted constantly, selfies and scrubs, inspirational quotes about cutting toxic people from your life. Photos from happy hours with her hospital crew. Maya was in most of them, along with another woman named Tina, who worked in hospital administration. They looked so happy, so successful, so convinced they'd won. I started making my own moves, small ones at first. I created anonymous profiles and began following the hospital gossip pages, the private groups where staff vented and shared dirt. Turned out City General was a hotbed of drama, affairs, rivalries, power struggles. It was all there if you knew where to look. I learned that Gavin Rusk was called Golden Boy Gavin behind his back, that he'd allegedly slept with at least 3 residents before Sabrina, that his wife Patricia came from money and had connections to the hospital board. Useful information. I learned that Maya, Sabrina's best friend, had her own secrets. She'd failed her boards twice before passing, something she'd apparently lied about on her applications. Also useful. I learned that Tina in administration was skimming money from the hospital's equipment budget. Very useful. But I didn't act on any of it yet. I just watched and waited and trained. Rico called it rope-a-dope. Let them think they've won. Let them get comfortable. Then strike when they're not looking. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Devin sent me a text that changed everything. Big hospital fundraiser next Friday. Fancy dress thing. Rusk and Monroe will both be there. Rusk's wife too. Perfect. I went shopping for the first time in years. Got a real suit, not a rental. Got a haircut from somewhere that charged more than $15. Got shoes that actually fit properly. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I'd lost the soft edges that desk work had given me. I looked harder now, leaner, dangerous. Rico whistled when he saw me. Damn, brother, you clean up nice. Think I can pass for respectable? You look like you could buy and sell half those doctors. He adjusted my tie. What's the play? Reconnaissance. I just want to see them, see how they act when they think they're safe. And then I start breaking things. The fundraiser was at the hospital's conference center, a modern building attached to the main hospital by a glass walkway. I arrived fashionably late, paid the $200 entry fee in cash, and walked into a room full of doctors and donors, pretending to care about whatever cause they were supporting that night. I spotted Sabrina immediately. She wore a red dress that probably cost more than my rent, her hair down for once, laughing at something Gavin was saying. He had his hand on the small of her back, possessive and obvious. His wife was nowhere in sight. Maya stood nearby, holding court with a group of other residents. Tina was working the room, clipboard in hand, making sure everything ran smoothly. Nobody recognized me at first. I'd changed too much. But then I walked past Sabrina's group, close enough to be noticed, and I saw her face change. Shock, then confusion, then something like fear. Eli? I turned, pretending to just notice her. Sabrina, you look well. What are you doing here? Supporting the hospital. Isn't that what we're all doing? I smiled at Gavin. You must be Dr. Rusk. I've heard so much about you. Gavin's expression was priceless, caught between confusion and territorial aggression. I don't think we've met. No, but I know your wife Patricia. We served on a charity board together last year. A complete lie, but he didn't know that. She's lovely. Is she here tonight? She couldn't make it, he said stiffly. Shame. I'll have to call her, catch up. I turned back to Sabrina. You're looking successful. Residency treating you well? Yes, it's going well. She'd recovered some of her composure. I'm surprised to see you. This doesn't seem like your scene. People change. You taught me that. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Anyway, I should circulate. Good seeing you both. I walked away before either of them could respond. I felt their eyes on my back, felt the confusion and unease radiating from them. Good. Let them wonder. Let them worry. I spent the rest of the evening networking, playing the part of a successful businessman. I talked to board members, donors, other doctors. I was charming and confident, and completely unlike the man Sabrina had divorced. Several people gave me their cards. Devin, working the event in his janitor's uniform, caught my eye and gave me a subtle nod. He'd seen the whole thing. As the night wound down, I made my way to the rooftop bar where some of the younger staff had gathered. Sabrina and Gavin were there, along with Maya and a few others. They were drunk now, loose and loud. I ordered a whiskey and positioned myself close enough to overhear. Did you see his suit? Maya was saying. Where did Eli get money for a suit like that? I don't know, and I don't care, Sabrina said, but her voice was tight. He's probably in debt, trying to look successful. He talked to some board members, Gavin said. Saw him laughing with Dr. Patterson. What's his angle? He doesn't have an angle. Eli's not that smart. But Sabrina didn't sound convinced. I waited until Gavin went to the bar. Then I walked past him, close enough that our shoulders bumped. My whiskey sloshed, spilling onto his shirt. Watch it, he snapped. Sorry, doctor. Guess my hands aren't as steady as yours. I looked at his drink, then at him. Then again, you're on your fourth scotch tonight. Your hands probably aren't that steady either. Hope you're not on call. His face went red. Who the hell do you think you are? Just a guy who used to fix medical equipment. You know, the stuff that keeps your patients alive when your hands are too shaky to do it yourself? I smiled. Have a good night, doctor. I left before he could respond. But I heard the muttering behind me, the way his friends had to calm him down. Seed planted. The next morning, I met Devin at a diner across from the hospital. He slid a folder across the table. Everything you asked for. Rusk's schedule, his wife's contact information, and, he grinned, some interesting financial records from the hospital. Tina's not as careful as she thinks she is. I flipped through the documents. It was all there. Proof of Tina's embezzlement, records of Gavin's inappropriate relationships with residents, and most importantly, documentation of the strings Gavin had pulled to help Sabrina meet her residency requirements. This is perfect. How'd you get the financial stuff? Tina's password is literally password 123. Some people make it too easy. Devin sipped his coffee. What's the plan? Phase 1. Separate Gavin from his protection. His wife's money and connections keep him safe. Take that away, he's vulnerable. And Sabrina? She's built her whole identity on being a successful doctor. What happens when people find out she cut corners? When they realize she's not as good as she pretends to be? Devin whistled. You're going scorched earth. They called me dead weight. Time to show them what dead weight can do when it falls on your head. I started with Gavin's wife, Patricia. I created an anonymous email account and sent her a carefully curated selection of text messages between Gavin and Sabrina. Nothing illegal, nothing hacked, just screenshots from Sabrina's old laptop, the one she'd abandoned. The messages were explicit enough to be damning but vague enough that Patricia would have to investigate further. I included a helpful note. Your husband is having an affair with Dr. Sabrina Monroe, a resident at City General. This has been going on for over 6 months. You deserve to know. 2 days later, Devin reported that Patricia had shown up at the hospital, demanding to see Gavin. They'd had a screaming match in the parking garage that half the staff had witnessed. It was beautiful, Devin texted.
90 days of calls to the same number. You bought a burner for her.
Give it to me.
One reason not to drop it.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
She threw her coffee at him, called him a cliché and a disappointment. Security had to escort her out. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 was trickier. I needed to plant doubt about Sabrina's competence without directly attacking her. So I started small. I created a fake profile on one of the medical gossip forums and posted a question about whether it was normal for residents to have attending physicians help them falsify clinical hours. Asking for a friend, I wrote. Friend's residency partner seems to have completed way more hours than possible in the time frame. Friend thinks the partner's attending physician might be fudging the numbers. Is this common? Should friend report it? The responses were immediate and vicious. Medical professionals took this stuff seriously. Within hours, people were sharing their own stories, speculating about who I was talking about, discussing the ethical implications. I added one more comment. Friend says the resident's name rhymes with Katrina and works at a hospital that rhymes with City General. Not subtle, but effective. By the next day, there were whispers throughout the hospital. Devin reported that people were looking at Sabrina differently, questioning her work, double-checking her patient reports. She's getting paranoid, Devin texted. Snapped at a nurse today for asking about her clinical hours. Maya's trying to calm her down, but it's not working. Good. Let her feel what I felt. Let her understand what it's like when your world starts crumbling. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Phase 3 was the most satisfying. I waited until Gavin was working a late shift. Then I went to the hospital parking garage. His Tesla was easy to spot. Vanity plate that read Dr. Rusk. I'd bought a key from a locksmith who didn't ask questions. One that worked on Tesla charging ports. I didn't slash his tires or break his windows. Nothing that obvious. Instead, I opened his charging port and stuffed a dead fish inside, then closed it. In a few days, when the smell got bad enough, he'd have to take it to the shop. They'd find the fish and he'd look like an idiot. But that wasn't the main event. I'd also bought a small GPS tracker, the kind suspicious spouses use. I attached it under his rear bumper. Now I'd know everywhere he went, everyone he saw. And I left a note under his windshield wiper. Dead weight floats. But so do you, right to the surface where everyone can see what you really are. Devin sent me video footage from the security cameras the next morning. Gavin had found the note, looked around frantically, then crumpled it up and thrown it away. But his hands were shaking. He's scared, Devin texted. Keeps looking over his shoulder. He should be. That night, Gavin tried to confront me. He'd found out where I was staying, probably from Sabrina, and showed up at Rico's gym with 2 guys I didn't recognize. Big guys, probably friends from his gym. Rico saw them first. Eli, you got company. I was working the speed bag when they walked in. Gavin looked ridiculous in his expensive workout clothes, flanked by his muscle, like a kid playing tough guy. We need to talk, Gavin said. So talk. Alone. Anything you say to me, you can say in front of Rico. He's good people. Gavin's jaw clenched. Fine. I know you're behind the rumors at the hospital. The anonymous posts, the messages to my wife. It stops now. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. You're trying to ruin my career because you're bitter about the divorce. I stopped hitting the bag and turned to face him. Bitter? No. Bitter would be irrational. What I am is informed. I know what you did, Gavin. I know how you manipulated Sabrina's records. I know about the other residents you've slept with. I know everything." His face went pale. "You can't prove anything." "Can't I?" I smiled. "Want to test that theory? Want to see what happens when the medical board gets an anonymous tip with documentation?" One of his friends stepped forward. "Maybe we should just teach you a lesson right now." Rico moved faster than any man his age should be able to. He was between me and Gavin's goons in a heartbeat, a tire iron in his hand that seemed to appear from nowhere. "Boys, this is a private gym, members only. You ain't members." Rico's voice was calm, almost friendly. "And if you try anything stupid, well, security cameras everywhere. Plus, I got friends in the police department who owe me favors. So maybe you should leave before this gets complicated." Gavin's friends looked at each other, then at Gavin. They weren't getting paid enough for this. "Come on," one of them muttered. "This is stupid." Gavin stood there for another moment, trying to salvage some dignity. "This isn't over." "You're right," I said. "It's not. It's just getting started." After they left, Rico locked the door and turned to me. "You're playing with fire, brother." "I know." "Good. Just making sure you know what you're doing." "I do. Trust me." But the truth was, I was making it up as I went along. I had a general plan. Destroy their reputations, their relationships, their sense of safety. But the specifics were evolving. Every action they took gave me new opportunities, and they were starting to make mistakes. Sabrina called me for the first time since the divorce. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want, Eli?" "Hello to you too." "Don't play games. I know you're behind everything that's happening. The rumors, the posts, whatever you did to Gavin's car." "His car? What happened to his car?" "It smells like something died in it. The dealership found a fish in the charging port." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "That's terrible. Who would do such a thing?" "You're not funny. This is harassment. I could call the police." "And tell them what? That your ex-husband might have put a fish in your boyfriend's car?" "They'd laugh you out of the station." I paused. "Besides, you'd have to admit you're sleeping with a married man. Pretty sure that would violate your hospital's ethics policy." Silence on the other end. Then, "What do you want?" "Want? I don't want anything, Sabrina. I already got what I wanted. Freedom from a marriage that was suffocating me. You did me a favor. Then why are you doing this?" "Doing what? I'm just living my life. If your life is falling apart, maybe that's not about me. Maybe that's about the choices you made." "You're pathetic. And yet, I'm not the one whose career is hanging by a thread. I'm not the one whose boyfriend's wife is filing for divorce. I'm not the one who has to look over my shoulder wondering what's coming next." I let that sink in. "Have a good day, doctor." I hung up before she could respond. Devin reported that Sabrina had a full meltdown at the hospital that afternoon. Yelled at a patient, threw a clipboard, locked herself in a bathroom stall for 20 minutes. Maya and Tina had to talk her down. "The staff is turning on her," Devin texted. "They smell blood in the water. Maya's trying to do damage control, but it's not working." Perfect. Time for phase 4. I'd been saving the best evidence for last. The emails and documents showing how Gavin had manipulated Sabrina's records. I couldn't just send them to the medical board. That would be too obvious, too traceable. I needed someone else to find them organically. So I created a fake hospital whistleblower website and posted the documents there, along with other legitimate complaints about City General. I made it look like a disgruntled employee's project, something that had been collecting dirt for months. Then I anonymously tipped off a local healthcare reporter who'd been writing about hospital corruption. "Check out this website. Some interesting stuff about City General and falsified resident records." The reporter bit. Within 3 days, she'd published an article. "City General resident accused of falsifying clinical hours with attending physician's help." She didn't name Sabrina directly, probably for legal reasons, but she included enough details that anyone at the hospital would know exactly who she was talking about. The article quoted anonymous sources and included some of the documentation from the whistleblower website. The hospital had no choice. They launched an internal investigation. Devin kept me updated. "Sabrina's been suspended pending investigation." Gavin too. "The whole hospital is talking about it." "Maya's freaking out because she thinks she's next." Is she? Probably should be. But I don't think they'll dig that deep unless someone points them in the right direction. I thought about it. Maya had been Sabrina's closest ally, her enabler. She'd spread the gossip about me being dead weight. She'd laughed at me on social media. Send me everything you have on Maya's falsified board scores. That night, I added Maya's information to the whistleblower website. Not prominently, just buried in the comments section, like someone had mentioned it in passing. But I made sure to tag the same reporter who'd written the original article. The dominoes were falling. All I had to do was wait. But Sabrina wasn't going to wait. She showed up at the gym 2 days later, pounding on the door until Rico let her in. I was in the ring, sparring with one of Rico's other fighters. I saw her and held up a glove. "Give me a minute." I climbed out of the ring and grabbed a towel. Sabrina looked terrible. Hair unwashed, no makeup, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. This wasn't the polished doctor I'd seen at the fundraiser. This was someone coming apart. "You destroyed my life," she said. "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences of your own actions. The investigation, the article, the website, that's all you. Don't pretend it's not. Prove it." I wiped sweat from my face. "You can't, because I've been very careful. But let's say, hypothetically, that I did have something to do with it. Would you really be surprised? You threw away 8 years like they meant nothing. You humiliated me, called me dead weight, told everyone I was holding you back. Did you think I'd just disappear quietly? I thought you'd be mature about it." I laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the empty gym. Mature, that's rich coming from someone who had an affair with her married supervisor and then falsified records to advance her career. Gavin used you. He's used other residents too. You weren't special, Sabrina. You were just convenient. And now that it's all coming out, he's going to throw you under the bus to save himself. You watch. Her face crumpled. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "What do you want?" she whispered. "What will it take for you to stop?" Stop? I'm just getting started. I stepped closer. "You wanted to cut dead weight from your life. Fine. But you forgot something important. When you cut weight loose, you lose your anchor. And now you're drifting, Sabrina. No career, no reputation, no friends who actually care about you. Just you and Gavin. And we both know how that's going to end." "You're enjoying this." "I'm not enjoying it. I'm just not crying about it either." I turned back to the ring. "You should go. You're interrupting my workout." She stood there for a long moment, then turned and walked out. Rico watched her go, then looked at me. "That was cold, brother. She earned it." "Maybe, but be careful. Desperate people do desperate things." He was right to worry. That night, Sabrina and Gavin tried to turn the tables. I got a call from a detective the next morning. Detective Sarah Mills, she said, from the city police department. She wanted to ask me some questions about harassment allegations. "What kind of harassment?" "Dr. Sabrina Monroe and Dr. Gavin Rusk have filed complaints alleging that you've been stalking them, vandalizing property, and making threatening communications." I'd been expecting this. "I'd be happy to answer questions. Should I bring a lawyer?" "That's your right, but this is just a preliminary interview. We're gathering information. I'll come down this afternoon." I called Rico. "They're trying to flip the script, get me arrested for harassment." "Can they prove anything?" "No. I've been careful. Everything I've done has been either legal or untraceable, but they're desperate." "Want me to come with you?" "No. I need you to do something else." I explained my plan. Rico grinned. "Brother, you're either crazy or brilliant. Why not both?" The interview with Detective Mills was brief. She asked about my relationship with Sabrina, about the divorce, about my whereabouts on certain dates. I answered honestly. I'd been working, training at the gym, living my life. I had receipts, witnesses, alibis for everything. "What about the messages Dr. Rusk received? The note on his car?" "What note?" "It said dead weight floats." Sounds like someone's being poetic, but it wasn't me. I've had no contact with Dr. Rusk except for a brief conversation at a hospital fundraiser and when he showed up at my gym with 2 guys to threaten me. That's on security camera, by the way. Detective Mills made a note. "What about the whistleblower website?" "What about it?" "I read the article in the paper. Sounds like there are serious problems at City General. But that's not my concern anymore." "Oh." She asked a few more questions, then let me go. "We'll be in touch if we need anything else." "Oh, I'm sure you will." Outside the police station, I texted Rico. "Did you get it?" "Got it. You're going to love this." While I'd been at the police station, Rico had been following Gavin. The GPS tracker I'd planted on his car made it easy. And Gavin, in his panic, had made a critical mistake. He'd gone to meet with Tina, the hospital administrator who'd been embezzling funds. Rico had photographed them together at a coffee shop, heads close, clearly conspiring. He'd also recorded audio through the window. Just fragments, but enough to hear them discussing covering tracks and getting rid of evidence. They're planning to destroy records, Rico said when I met him back at the gym, trying to erase proof of what they did. That's obstruction of justice, maybe even conspiracy. I looked at the photos. Send these to Detective Mills, anonymously. You sure? This might blow back on you. It won't. Trust me. Oh, I was right. When the police received evidence that Gavin and Tina were attempting to destroy hospital records, the investigation expanded. The hospital was forced to preserve everything, and forensic accountants were brought in to examine the financial irregularities. Tina cracked first. Faced with embezzlement charges, she made a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. She gave up everything. Gavin's manipulation of resident records, Sabrina's falsified hours, the affairs, the cover-ups, all of it. Maya was next. When investigators questioned her about her own falsified board scores, she panicked and tried to blame Sabrina, claiming that Sabrina had encouraged her to lie on her applications. The hospital fired all of them. Sabrina, Gavin, Maya, and Tina, gone in one sweep. The medical board suspended Sabrina's and Gavin's licenses pending further investigation. Maya's residency was terminated. Devin texted me updates throughout the day. It's chaos here. Security escorted all of them out. Sabrina was crying. Gavin tried to argue, but they weren't having it. Maya threw up in the parking lot. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt satisfied. But mostly I just felt tired. Is it over? Rico asked that night. Not yet. One more thing. What? No, Forschingjans.